Oh yeah,
would you agree?
absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
Excellent.
Just gonna tweak this a little bit.
I love the way it all integrates with Photoshop and back.
Yeah, and then you can just do Command Save, which I just did, and it will have changed it in here. So it's already kind of cropped it.
Right.
Yeah, it's already what I kind of wanted it to be.
Great time saver. Wow.
Yeah. And then we will start putting in the environment. So I used options that were already there.
Right.
So you basically need to put in a backdrop for it to render out the textures. That's something that I kind of learned myself.
Okay.
So I'm just going to move this forward a little bit.
I believe you're able to match the object to the background in terms of perspective, right?
Yes. Yeah, I can show you that feature.
Right.
Let me just get this to fit. So yeah, if you click on environment, and then you can click match image, and it'll kind of line up what you have for the lighting and the background.
Gosh, that is so easy.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it didn't like that, so I'm going to go back and keep it how it was. Yeah, and then another thing that I use is the focus set. So you click on it, and then it's already on your cursor, and yeah, you click on the area, and then the render preview has already come up, so you can kind of see what's going to happen. So I made this shape first, and then I applied one of the starter models, just of a sphere.
Sure.
And then obviously that needs really scaling down. So what's quite nice about Dimension is that you are able to well, have things, you can see it's already reacting to one another and creating shadows. So it really does look 3D. It's not that you're just kind of plonking things together.
Sure.
So yeah, place that in here, probably a bit too big.
Do you do a lot of animation with yourself?
I do. I tend to work with a lot of animators and then kind of try and teach myself and do tests. So as a creative director, I think it's really important to know how things work so that you're able to brief people properly. Yeah, so I also downloaded this texture, which is what I used on the sphere. So to apply it to the shape, you just need to have that object selected, basically. And then you can rotate that as well.
Excellent.
Just to play around with it. There you go. Yeah, so I basically had something like that, and then I clicked render in here, and you can choose all your settings. Obviously, we already have it ready now. But one great thing that you can do while it is rendering is you're able to take a screenshot of where it is currently. So you can already take it away as a PSD or PNG file and play with it.
Right, excellent.
Yeah.
And I believe that Dimension's got a cloud-based renderer using V-Ray.
Oh, really?
If I'm not mistaken, yeah. So it's actually really useful. Even if you're using a different software and you bring the model in, you can render it directly through Dimension. So you don't have to use your graphics card on your computer.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's good to know. So yeah, now we'll go into Photoshop. And basically I have the original layers of just the rendered image here, which I'll take because otherwise it'll just take too long.
Okay.
Yeah. So we've got this here, and basically when it exports, you have all the layers. So you have the alpha layer, the normals, and this without a background. And then for the actual background of this image, I started importing some images that I already have off the library. So one thing that I wanted to show you that was really great about using Adobe Stock was that I was able to search based on my own images. So that was a really great way of, you know, because it's such a broad broad stock website, you
Yeah.
don't really know where to start.
Sure.
So I started with the written phrase microscopic nature, and then I brought in one of my own images, which looks like this,
Wow.
which is not digital. It's something that was a textile-y material test.
All right. I was going to say it looks like a good render. Yeah.
But yeah, I love about my work that sometimes people can't tell whether it's real or not.
Right, yeah.
So yeah, I was able to drag in the uploaded image with microscopic nature, and these were the kinds of images that I found that I chose to use.
Sure.
So that was a really great way of getting my head around how Adobe Stock can work. So we got this one that I also found.
Okay.
And then I'll just bring everything in first, and then we'll start putting it together.
I love the way it just pops up in Photoshop seamlessly. Yeah.
I know, so quick.
It's a time saver, yeah.
Okay, and then, so this one will go on the top. So now it's just a case of really playing around with the final parameters in Photoshop.
All right.
So I'm pretty sure this one was underneath,
Okay.
and I'm pretty sure I think
Are you someone that
hardly-
names your layers, or do you not name your layers? Do you get lazy like me?
Yeah,
Yeah,
lazy.
Yeah. 52 different layers, and you just right-clicking to find the. That's what I end up doing anyway.
Well, I feel like if you can see, like,
if you can see
the
it, you can
difference,
select it, right?
Yeah. That's just how my brain
Okay.
works. Yeah, and then it was just kind of a case of playing around, and
Okay. So you put a hard light
yes,
filter on that.
yeah. And I have a little bit of experience in retouching, so I love tools like Dodge and Burn,
All right.
just to bring up the highlights and contrast of
So are
everything.
you a Wacom Cintiq or a mouse user?
I am a mouse user.
A mouse user.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Or just like the really, really like total basics
Bare
of
bones
Photoshop.
basic, yeah. Okay.
I mean, anything that's just going to give it a bit more of depth. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like with people who are self-taught in lots of different programs like I am,
Yep.
you kind of just teach yourself what
Yep.
you need to know.
Yep, that's me, 100%.
Yeah. So yeah, now it's just a case of doing a bit of Dodge and Burn, and then, yeah, we'd be finished. Oh, that's really strong. Turn down the exposure. So yeah, it's kind of like looking for where the,
Certain spots to add some contrast.
yeah, like that you can see around here.
Right,
You can see the detail of the bubble wrap coming through.
right.
It's too strong. Need to turn these exposures down.
I guess if you're at home, you'd be here for hours tweaking and tweaking.
Yeah, completely. Yeah, that's what I was kind of doing when I was playing around with everything.
We never finish, do we? We just press pause, don't we?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what we do. Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, so it's just a case of playing, really.
You're going to add some contrast to the foreground layers or just the background?
Yeah, let's play with the foreground as well.
Yeah.
I love playing with curves as well.
right, yep,
That's
yep.
like easy.
Yeah, sure. There you go.
Yeah, that's really cool.
It's really popping now, isn't it?
Yeah, and
yeah.
now I feel like these need to be stronger.
Okay.
Or maybe if I just bring this one up.
Brighter or darker?
I feel like richer, so
Richer?
darker.
More saturation, less saturation?
More saturation,
More saturation?
always.
Okay. As you're creating this, how would you define this? If I wasn't a creative and I said, what's that? How would you define what you're creating right now? Simply.
I would say it's a digital image that uses a combination of techniques.
Right.
Yeah. Maybe that's too simple.
It all looks very molecular and very kind of hillbilly and organic.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of love finding ways to bring science into the work that I do.
Right. I was going to say, where do you get your inspiration from?
Yeah, I mean, it probably sounds really boring, but I love work that feels really grounded in research and like it's about something rather than just being about artistic license necessarily.
Okay.
Yeah.
It looks like life is being created from the embryotic stage or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's nice. When you kind of, mix up the different layers so you...
Right.
It's like, is it plastic? Is it a rock formation?
Right.
But yeah, I find this type of work really relaxing.
It almost looks hypnotic. I was watching your ID documentary.
Oh, yes, yeah.
And the music they played and the way the atoms were moving, it almost hypnotized me when I was watching it. Yeah, it was amazing. So, cool.
So, yeah.
Excellent. So is that a wrap?
Yeah, I'd say so.
That's a wrap. So what can I say? That's amazing. I love how you've used the visual search function to find an image that's visually similar to your own image. It's something that makes Adobe Stock quite unique, using the power of machine learning to show your results that match the colors, tones, and the composition of the image you search. Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it was a great way to be able to get a handle on the mass that is Adobe Stock and figure out what would make sense for me and my work.
Right, excellent. And it's great to see Adobe Dimension getting a shot of the action. And if you didn't know before tonight, you know now, Adobe Stock has a rapidly growing collection of 3D assets. Lots of them are standard assets, so you can get them as part of the free 1-month trial. But for premium assets, and it applies to videos and images, you can buy credit packs. So you can choose your credit packs and work it however you want using the premium and standard assets. So Lucy, thanks again for joining us, and it's been really inspiring watching you demo your work.
Thanks for having me.
Excellent. Before we welcome our next speaker, I just want to remind you and tell you that, remember, in the comments, it's all about what creativity means to you. For your chance to win a Creative Cloud license with Adobe Stock for 1 year. Now, some of you guys have been asking questions on social media, so I'm going to have a look and see what's come up. So somebody's asking, can I try out Adobe Stock images before I buy them? Okay, well, the short-ish answer is, you can try out the stock images and videos. You can download them as low-resolution, watermarked images for free. So when you're in Photoshop and you do a quick search, you can just drag it across, resize it, and you'll see the watermark, obviously, on the image. But it's a good marker, okay? So yeah, no payments required. You can right-click and license the image when you're happy with it. And obviously you can download different images and layer it all up. So it's a good way of really quickly working out how your image is going to look beforehand. So it's a lot better than using other stock sites. It's quick, it's easy, it's fun. So do check it out and have some fun with that. And yeah. Next up, right now, it's time to introduce our next speaker. He goes by the name of Ron Timehin. Ron's a freelance photographer with a pretty impressive client list and a great Instagram following. He's drawn to creating atmospheric landscapes and cityscapes. So I'm going to welcome Ron, and thanks for joining us. So Ron, you've been taking photographs for years, and it's fair to say it's working out pretty well for you. So some people might be surprised to hear that you haven't always been a photographer. Tell us a little bit about how you got started and a bit about your background.
Sure. So firstly, Gavin, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Sure.
So yeah, initially I got into photography through music. So for those that don't know, I was actually a trumpeter from a very young age.
Oh, wow.
And with lots of practice, lots of hours, I began ranking up the grading system. And by the age I was 16 years old, I had achieved my grade 8. And that meant that I was then able to tour with different bands, different orchestras.
Right.
And so whilst I was traveling to lots of different places in the world, that's when my eye for photography kind of developed.
Wow.
I was seeing some amazing sights and I felt I needed to document it. And so that's how it started.
Excellent. So you were already seasoned before you got into the creative game, traveling the world like a celebrity.
I don't know.
Excellent. So it's fair to say you're a pro at editing your photos in Lightroom, but how have you found this challenge to integrate Adobe Stock into your images? Obviously, being a photographer, it might be a conflict of interest in some people's eyes. So how does that work for you? Yeah,
so this was actually a big challenge for me. I think for 2 reasons. So firstly, as you said, yes, I use Lightroom mainly.
Right.
And so the entirety of my work process was actually done in Photoshop.
Right.
And although I have some experience with Photoshop, I'm not as seasoned as I am in Lightroom.
Right.
So that was the first thing. I think secondly as well, the technique I was using was actually merging 2 different mediums. Right. So I was merging photography and video files.
Right.
And so making sure those work together smoothly was also kind of the second challenge for me.
Excellent, excellent. Now, as I've already mentioned to Lucy, the event is inspired by Adobe Stock's creative reality visual trend, where we're seeing these fantastical, otherworldly images, like a day-glow version of reality. How are you going to be interpreting this theme today?
Okay, so initially, the first kind of things that jumped out to mind, so firstly, with the vivid colors, I'm seeing some incredible bold palettes. That was a kind of recurring theme through some of the artwork I saw. Right. Secondly, there was a really weird juxtaposition between different realities, and I've tried to incorporate that into the technique I'm going to be demonstrating today. Okay. So taking 2 normal settings, but putting them together to create something new and something special. Right. And again, so I'm taking a common technique that's used in photography, but I'm adding a spin on it, which kind of gives it that futuristic feel.
Excellent, excellent. So we're looking forward to seeing what you come up with tonight. Let's take it away and see what you come up with.
Cool. So the technique I'm actually going to be showing today is called a double exposure cinematograph. Right. And a common theme that people use in photography is double exposures, where you merge 2 images together to create a unique image. However, this time I'm actually going to be using a video file merged with a photo that I took. So this is the finished product, just so everyone can have an idea of what it looks like.
Wow. Excellent. That's phenomenal.
And so, yeah, we're going to jump into how I came about this.
Okay, cool.
So first things first, I have a really simple shot of one of my friends, Irene, and what we want to do here is we want to isolate our subject. And so to do this, I use the quick selection tool. If you do want to do it in detail, I would suggest using the pen tool, so you can get a lot more
that's my tool.
Accurate
that's
pen tool.
Yeah, all day.
But yeah, for today, I'm just going to use the quick selection tool just to select my subjects.
I'm sure I've seen her on your Instagram.
Yes, I work with her quite a lot, actually. She's a lovely, lovely lady. Cool. So just for purpose's sake, for time, we're going to create this. And so to isolate her now, what we're going to do is we're going to create a new layer mask. And I'm just going to give that a click. Okay. And there you have it.
I'm done.
Luckily, because it's a white background, it's easy to isolate her.
That's right.
From here, we actually want to create a new background. And so to do this, we're going to go up to the top and click File, New. And the settings I'm going to be using are width 1920, height 1080, resolution 300, RGB color mode, and a white background.
So a pretty standard scale there, yeah?
Yeah,
1080.
pretty standard. And that's going to work well with our video file from Adobe Stock.
Yeah, of course, yeah, 1080.
So we're going to create that.
Okay.
We're then going to head back to our isolated image, and we're going to click the Move tool. And we're simply going to drag our subject off of here onto our new background. All right. Now, as you can see, they're different sizes. So we're going to go and rectify that now.
Scale it down a bit.
Yeah, so I'm just going to zoom out really quickly. Okay. And one way of doing this, you can go up to the top, and I believe you can go to Edit, and then click Transform.
Yep.
But if you want to use a quick shortcut, press Command T or Control T. Yeah. All
right, cool.
And what we want to do for this image, we just want really from the top of her head to the start of her shoulders. So once you begin moving this, you can see it's not moving in the same in this, well,
It's out of proportion.
out of proportion,
Yeah,
thank you, yes.
right.
So to move it within proportion, you want to click the Shift key and hold the Shift key,
Right.
and then you can drag from the corner, and you can see it will move in the
And
same
you can hold the
proportion.
Alt key as well if you want to do it in, centralize it.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yep. So I'm just going to play around this. I think something maybe like that works.
All right, cool.
I'm just going to zoom in quickly. Yep, that looks good to me. Cool. So I'm going to click Enter to select that. Last thing now we want to do before we start looking for our video file is we want to create a new background layer that's going to be of a solid color.
Right.
And so to do this, we're going to go to New Layer, New Adjustment Layer.
Right.
Click that and go to Solid Color, which is at the top.
Okay.
So from here, so from here, you can choose any color you want. I kind of like the blue, as you saw in my final piece.
Okay.
So I'm not going to make it too vivid for now.
Right.
So maybe something like this will work. And I'm just going to drag this underneath the file. So we have something like this.
Right.
We can then go ahead and delete the background layer that we previously had.
Okay.
And now we're ready to look for our video, our stock image, stock video.
Okay.
So to do this, I've gone onto Safari.
Okay.
And what I did was, a lot of people don't know, it's not just images on the stock library, there are a whole heap of assets. So I've gone to videos,
Right.
and I simply typed in London.
London.
And I think within 4 or 5, in fact 3, I found one that I was very, very happy with. As you can see here, it's a nice time lapse of Tower Bridge.
I take it these are like 4K images,
4K
videos.
Yeah, I mean, so there are 2 options actually. You can click the 4K video, or you can have the HD.
Right.
And then I think somebody asked in the questions earlier about using the preview file and then using it on your actual, test them out before you want to license them.
Right.
So what I did, I did do that, but just to save time, I did in fact download it once I'd licensed it.
Right.
So once we had this image, once we had this video, I then went back into Photoshop. And the good thing is here on the right-hand side, all your files that you've licensed automatically come up here.
That's right.
I downloaded the 4K file, so just to save time, I'm just going to import that now.
Right.
And simply, we're just going to drag the file and drop it over our image so far. Cool.
Right.
So now what we want is we want the video file within the cutout of my model.
Right.
And so to do that, we're going to head to this layer here, and we're going to click just the layer mask, yes.
Yep.
And we're going to copy that layer mask onto the video.
All right.
So to do that, we're going to hold Alt key
Yep.
and simply drag and drop it.
on. Yep.
There you go.
There you go.
Now, I don't like the composition of the 2 images together. I would rather Tower Bridge was centered in her face. Okay. So to do that, on this top layer here, you see this little link?
Yep.
We're going to click the link so that we can actually move them separately without moving the entire thing.
Sure.
And so we've got the move tool selected, and as you can see, we can now just move it around. So I think somewhere around here is good. You always want to make sure that your video file is covering up the entire space. So as you see, and I've moved it, it's not covering up the whole thing.
Okay.
So I'm just going to move it to about here. Again, holding the Shift key so I can just move it in proportion.
Okay.
Something like this, maybe.
I'm sure you've got some shots of Tower Bridge in your portfolio, haven't you?
I do indeed, yeah. It's one of my favourites.
Is that part of the fog collection that you've got?
Yes.
Yeah, I
That's
saw
what you saw, yeah.
Yeah, I saw
Thank
it,
you.
Yeah. Real vintage London, the effects you've got going on there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Very early mornings. Very, very early.
Okay.
So yeah, that looks good. I like the way Tower Bridge kind of leads from my mouth into frame. Cool. So now what we're going to do, this is what I think is actually the trickiest part of this whole process.
Right.
We want to actually duplicate this layer and apply it above the video file. So again, I'm holding Alt, but I'm moving the entire layer this time above the video.
All right.
We're then going to change the blend mode to lighten. And so that way you can see we start to now, we're now able to start blending the images to how we want. Okay, so from here, I'm going to click on just the layer mask, and I'm going to want to paint away part of the model's face so that we can show more of the video in the background.
Okay.
And so to do that, we want to make sure that black is selected here.
Right, because black hides, right?
Black hides.
And white reveals.
Yep. So we're going to click the brush tool. Okay. We're going to make the opacity around about 25%. We don't want to blend them too harshly.
Right.
And we're just going to start painting away.
Okay.
Just painting away. So this bit can take some time.
Sure.
But just remember the most important parts of the video that you want to show, paint over those. So for me, the bridge,
Is the traffic going to be in there, or is it?
The traffic will be,
Yeah,
and that's what we want. So we're going to paint away this section here.
Right.
Yep. And this bit is completely up to taste. So you can can keep in the elements that you want.
Sure.
Some people like to keep the ears in. I think for this particular video, it's a little bit distracting for me.
Sure, yeah.
So I'm actually going to get rid of it.
Right, yeah.
And as you can see, it's starting to take shape a little bit.
You're a Wacom man or mouse man?
I'm actually a mouse man.
Mouse man as
Funny
well?
enough, yeah. I mean, because I mainly use Lightroom, don't I? So,
of course. Of course. Okay, it's coming up nicely there.
That's okay, yep. So yeah, we can do something like this for now. Now what we want to do is, as you can see, we've lost a lot of the detail on the face, and we want to bring that back.
Okay.
So we're going to do exactly the same thing, but on the video file now.
Right, so bring that above.
Well, we're actually just going to click on the layer mask.
Oh, go on then, okay, cool.
And then we're just going to paint again on the face.
Right, okay.
Using exactly the same settings, the black brush tool, 25%.
Right.
And we're just going to paint in the face.
Lovely. I'm learning something new. I've never watched a double exposure tutorial before, so.
Well, this is
new for me.
It's pretty new for me as well. It's a new technique actually I found.
Okay.
So something like that works.
Okay.
For time's sake, we'll leave it like this.
Okay.
Okay, so now the background to me looks pretty boring.
Right.
And so a way I found it to make it a little bit more interesting is to have the entirety of the video in the background, but a little bit softer.
All right.
So to do this, we're actually going to click on this video layer again,
All right.
hold the Alt key, and we're going to copy it. But this time, instead of moving it above, we're going to move it below, so it becomes the background, like this.
All right.
And our layer mask that we've created before of the model's cutout is still affecting this video file, so we actually want to get rid of it. As you can see, now it's applying to the entire canvas.
Yep.
And so what we're going to go and do now is we're going to convert this file into a black and white. So go to Image, Adjustments, Black and White.
All right.
Click OK.
Okay.
And then we're going to apply a Gaussian blur just to make the subject stand out a bit more.
Yep.
So Filter, we go down to Blur, and we're going to go to Gaussian blur. I found the best number here that works is anywhere between 7 and 10.
Right.
For this one, I'm going to use 9.
Okay.
And then we're going to change the blend mode to soft light. Right? So now we still get the blue that we had before, but this is a little bit more detail in the background. And we're going to move the opacity to around about 50, something like that. You can use whatever figure you like for that part.
All right.
And so that's the basis of our double exposure cinematograph. This is now the second section, I would say. I'm going to try and run this through really, really quickly. So what we want to do is we want to open the timeline, and this is how you actually edit video within Photoshop.
Right.
So if it's not already at the bottom, you want to go to the top and click Window, head down to Timeline, and give that a click.
Okay.
This brings up the timeline. Click Create Video Timeline, and as you'll see, all our layers that we had before are now here.
Right.
But one thing we're seeing is that they're all different lengths.
Excellent.
And so we want to make sure that the length of video we're using is representative for the whole thing, basically. So to edit just the video, if you head over to Layer and you hover over the video file, double-click it, and it's going to open, should open, into a new file, so you can edit this. Now, the great thing is, everything you do in this window then affects the other one as well.
Right.
So you won't have to then move them around and change them that way.
Can I just say, someone's asking on social media,
Yes.
How would you define your signature style?
Dark, moody, but beautiful.
London.
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 Yeah.
Pretty much, okay.
Cool. So looking at this video clip now, I want to keep the start because I love how the light kind of comes through Tower Bridge.
Right.
But I don't want to include the entirety of the night. I only want to come up to maybe around about here.
Right.
If you want to be really specific with the amount of time you're using on a video, you can actually head to the bottom left, and you can see this timer here. If you double click it, you can actually then type in the exact amount of time you want the video to run for.
Okay.
So I'm going to say 6 seconds, 15 milliseconds. Cool, and what that's done, so now this marker, that indicates exactly where that time is.
Right.
So I'm just going to shorten the video to that time. There we have it.
Okay.
Cool, now this is this is great. We've got the length of time. However, we want it to be a continuous cycle. We want it to be smooth and just keep repeating itself. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to actually ungroup these layers so that we have one video file. See that?
Right.
Now we can affect the entire thing. We're going to duplicate this layer by clicking, holding, and dragging it over to new layer icon.
Yep.
Yep. Now we have 2 files. From here, we're going to go halfway. It takes some time. You're going to have to definitely keep rewatching this video for sure.
Yeah, I will, definitely.
And we're going to use this scissors tool here to cut the clip in half.
All right, okay.
Now what we want to do is we want to reverse the clips around so that we get a continuous cycle. So we're just going to drag this over to the left and drag this over to the right.
So rather than downloading Cinemagraph Pro, which I have tried,
Okay,
you can do it all within Photoshop.
Yeah, you can indeed, yeah.
There you
Because
go.
I've used that as well.
There you go.
So yeah, it's good. From here, we're then going to actually chop these in half again.
Okay.
But instead of cutting them, we're simply going to drag and shorten them.
Okay.
So about half.
Right.
And again, the same for here. You can be very specific, but I think because of time, we're just going to do it pretty roughly.
Right.
Cool. Now what we want to do is add a fade to the end of this clip and the start of this clip, so it then is really, really smooth. So we're going to hit this icon here, and we're going to drag the fade effect onto the back half of here,
Right.
and drag the fade to the front half of here. And that's it. So now, when you play it, it has to render and load, but you'll get the gist when we export the final file.
Right.
Now what you want to do is save this, so click Command Save or Control Save, or Command S, sorry.
Right.
Now once we head back, it's already going to be adapted to our timeline. It's already sorted itself out. Right. And so the last thing to do now is just to drag our other files so that they're the same length of time as the video.
Right. Okay.
And that is it. That's it. So once you export it, you then have this again, which is the final file. Voila.
Phenomenal. No, it's excellent. I've learned something new today. I'll be trying that at home
Definitely.
myself. So yeah, I love it. It's great to see how you've included the video because there's so much great quality footage on Adobe Stock. And I think we really saw how much easier it is when you can search for and license videos right from within Photoshop. So Ron, thanks again. You've created an incredible image and you've definitely given people some ideas to take away with them. It's phenomenal.
Thank you.
So thank you again. Okay, so we've got time to answer some of your questions on social media. So we have a stock question, okay, and they're asking, how can I use stock to come up with new design concepts? Okay, and the shortish answer would be, designers are obviously coming up with new concepts all the time, which they often have to pitch to clients. So using stock assets that you integrate with Creative Cloud, it allows you to quickly and easily mock up images to show clients. So, you know, I know people have used stock images for things like storyboarding and brainstorming too. So that's more or less how it works. Okay, guys. So remember, you can ask us anything on social media. Just put your question in the comments below, or using the hashtag Adobe Stock REMIX. Okay. So for anyone who's just joined us, I'm just going to tell you about the contest we're doing for this event, and I wouldn't want you to miss out. So you just have to tell us in the comments what creativity means to you, and you could be the one who wins a free 1-year membership to Creative Cloud and Adobe Stock. If you'd like to try your hand at creating something like this, don't forget, you can get a free month's trial of Adobe Stock. Just follow the link in the comments, and if you've already got Creative Cloud, it's really easy. You just bundle it together with your membership, so there's no extra admin or hassle for you. But there's plenty of time to get creative later, because right now it's time to introduce our next guest, who's going to take things in a completely different direction. Joining me now is Kyle Wilkinson, a designer who works across lots of different disciplines, including typography, illustration, and even furniture design. So, hi Kyle.
Hello.
Welcome to Adobe Stock REMIX Live. And looking at your portfolio, it seems like you're interested in pretty much everything. You've certainly got your talents in different areas. So what would you say you're interested in exploring in your work? What are your interests and how do you go about your process?
I'm a big believer in our skills as creatives are transferable across many different mediums. One of my biggest inspirations is Thomas Ellerwick. He designed things from bags to buses to buildings. Nothing stops that guy. So, and he's not trained in designing buses.
Right.
So the skills are transferable. So I like to dabble with anything I can get my hands on.
Excellent. And one of your clients has said that working with you is like stepping into a sorcerer's cave. It's like an exotic, thrilling, completely mystifying experience. It's all good though, because you said that you always end up creating something magical, right? And I can tell by your portfolio. So can you demystify things a bit about your approach?
Yeah, I nearly came dressed as a wizard, but I thought I'd give it a miss. Right. I like to invent processes, and that's what Mark at Computer Arts were referring to when he made that comment. Right. So I like to create new processes. For example, with Computer Arts, I shot their front cover with double cream submerged underwater. So I like to back myself into a corner, have no idea what I'm doing, and that's when the magic happens, when you have to use your creativity to get out of the situation.
Yeah, sure. So I've said earlier that this challenge is inspired by creative reality and the collection on Adobe Stock. So Kyle, what's your take on the creative reality theme?
So it's a really cool theme for starters. I wanted to tackle it in a slightly different manner. A lot of the examples out there right now are very psychedelic, very colourful, and I wanted to try and strip it back and create the same vibe with a black and white colour palette with just a splash of colour as well, just to see if we could create that same juxtaposition between.
Which is quite similar to your work, your portfolio. You've got monochromatic images.
Yeah, that's kind of, I suppose, a little bit of a signature. I use things stripped back rather than lots of colour.
So less is more, I guess, yeah? Yeah. Cool, excellent, okay. So I think we're ready to see what you've got for us in store. So let's step into the sorcerer's cave and take it away, Kyle.
All right, mate. So, starting off with this image here, which we've got from the Adobe Stock library. Starts out like this. So quickly using the magic wand to mask things off. I want to work on a black background.
Right. I was going to say it looks almost 3D. I thought.
Well, I found this image on Adobe Stock, and I thought this is perfect for a base to build off, because I want to build this entire image. Right. We've seen from the other guys how we can fit Adobe Stock into the workflows, but I want to show how we can create new images purely just with Adobe Stock.
Right.
So I wanted to use this image to use as a platform to build upon. Particularly went for this because it's already feeling quite futuristic, the glossy effect, and I really wanted to juxtaposition it with something that's more natural and completely different in texture. So using this feather.
Okay. Just add some levels there. Okay.
So just start to then.
So you've used the light and layer blend there?
Yeah, using blending modes. I think when you carefully consider the images that you're going to use, I think it makes your life a lot easier, rather than just downloading random stuff. And, really considering how you're going to use these things.
Right.
We can see how we can start to build this image.
Okay. Lovely. Is this quite typical of your workflow? I mean, do you use a lot of stock normally, or do you start with pencil and paper?
Yeah.
I noticed on your portfolio you've got some shots of you in a studio doing.
Yeah, I do a lot of shoots for clients. If we've got the budget, we will use a full studio setup and shoot the work. So, for example, shooting cream underwater to create the effect that we were trying to achieve. But then, if we haven't got the budget, that's not the end of the world. We can go to Adobe Stock and find images that we can start to use to build these things. Right. And I think it's a really versatile tool because there's a lot of good stuff out there.
Definitely. And you had an agency, didn't you?
Yes, I had an agency for 7 years.
How was that as an experience for you?
Brilliant, absolutely loved it. We grew it to a team of 10, and they're still some of the closest friends that I've got right now. Working with those guys were just brilliant for all them years. But it was time to move on to kind of.
I was going to say,
solo,
because usually
really.
freelancers go from freelance to working in a team maybe
Yeah.
or a studio, but you went the other way almost.
Did, yeah,
so-
yeah. I found myself doing jobs that weren't
You
necessarily.
weren't being the creative that you are, were you?
Exactly. So
It's the admin, it's the phone calls, the marketing,
it's the invoicing,
the
it's the rest of
the
it.
business stuff, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I enjoyed it, and I fell very naturally into that kind of role. But it's just, it was time for a different challenge. One time, you know, in future, I'll probably revisit it.
Yeah.
But it's certainly an interesting ride.
Cool.
So we can see that we're starting to build
Okay.
a bit of an image.
Quite a few layers going on there.
Yeah, well, this just shows how, if again, going back to carefully considering how you choose your images, is how you can then create these things to build upon. So we've got a platform, so we can, this is just 2 images so far, and we're starting to create that creative reality vibe
Sure.
in a monochromatic way.
Sure. You must get a lot of DMs from potential creatives who want to know how you do what you do. 'Cause I've looked at your work and I often can't work out how you got to that end result.
I'm so glad you've said that, because that's the biggest thing when setting up for the project. I want people to guess how I've made it.
Yeah.
One of the most painful projects I did were I projected something onto my own eyeball and
Really?
photographed that. So I projected a message for an editorial spread.
Right.
And everybody thought it was 3D. Everybody thought I'd faked it, but no,
Wow.
I'd shot it in a studio on my own eye.
Wow.
Blinded myself. Yeah.
Well, you know when someone's work is good when you scroll down their Instagram and then you stop, go back to the top, scroll down again slower, stop,
Oh, you're too kind.
back to the top, and scroll down again even slower.
You're too
And
kind.
I've got my beard like this. I wonder how he did that. That's what I was doing with your work, so yeah, it's great stuff.
Just wish I could grow a beard.
Yeah? Yeah. It's time for the sorcerer to mature, yeah? Like the Grand Wizard. Okay.
Lovely. So I think what we want to do is get some texture into some of these, because whilst the glossy spheres are lovely, I want to add some texture in there just to add a little bit more depth.
Sure.
So we can do that by simply getting a texture just like this marble one from the stock library. And just masking that again.
So you're going to add it to all of them or just that one there?
Just a couple. Just a couple.
yeah.
I think, yeah, I don't think we need to go crazy.
Right, I was going to say, yeah. Make it look like it's part of the...
Yeah, so we can start to use some of Photoshop's tools now. So just add in a bit of distortion to this, if we add it to the right thing.
Yeah. Cool.
We can get those textures just to follow the contours of the spheres.
Yep.
We can start to bring this to life. Again, just big believer in doing everything with masks, because it's just not destructive.
Yeah, you're just like me. Yep.
It just means that you can go back and change it
Yeah,
when you
sure,
think,
yeah.
oh no, I'll do it different.
I sometimes go on YouTube and I see traditional artists use Photoshop, and they actually don't use masks, a lot of them at all. They use it as if it's a canvas.
Yeah, yeah.
There's no going back. So that's,
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be screwed.
Yeah.
So, well, we can actually just duplicate that and reuse this.
You just place that on, yeah.
We can just...
Okay. So how would you describe the image so far?
It's coming together nicely.
Yeah.
It's going well. No, I think we're starting to get that juxtaposition between a more futuristic, high glossy texture that you'd see in maybe sci-fi kind of environment,
All right.
with that very natural bird's kind of nest,
Yeah.
bird's feathers, and that's kind of what I'm wanting to create here, is some sort of psychedelic, surreal bird's nest, insect nest
yeah.
thing. So it's just trying to create something otherworldly.
It almost looks like it's going to be part of a font or something that, how you just create like the tip of the F or something.
Yeah.
The
I
S.
considered, I really wanted to do the whole thing, but I wanted to show something that we could build it into a letter, but I think that would have took
Time, yeah.
So
Okay.
that was the plan. But we can see just how quickly we can start to bring something like this to life.
Yeah, sure.
So we've got a bit of white.
Do you like to group everything together and use groups and smart objects as well? Or?
Normally, yeah. Working at this pace is
Yeah, of course, yeah.
testing.
Yeah. Do you do a lot of vector work as well in Illustrator?
Yeah, mainly the type stuff.
Right, cool.
So a lot of my work can be type-led as well. I get hired to do a lot of custom typefaces for brands.
So do you sell your typefaces as well on the side?
No, I've never done one for myself. I've always done them for clients and brands wanting to kind of have something more bespoke or tailored for an advertising campaign or part of their brand. So I've not done one for commercial.
And do you do that in Illustrator or do you use other software?
Pretty much the majority of it's done in Illustrator and then take it into like a font software just to export it into a working font.
Sure.
But I've done a hell of a lot with Illustrator and Adobe's software, like the furniture you mentioned, that were designed all in Illustrator, which is not something that is overly used to do, I would have thought. But,
Right.
You can start to see how this thing's going to come together.
Yeah, it's got a bit more perspective now with those small balls in the front, yeah. It looks like you've gone into Dimension or Cinema 4D and just mocked up a 3D model. I do a lot of 3D work, you see, so that's what I see when I see that.
It's something that I want to do a lot. Well, I want to learn. I've never done it, and that's what I find. It's great when people say, "Oh, you must have done that in 3D" when it's a photograph or like the eyeball thing or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's great to do things traditionally, analog kind of method, but I think the potential with 3D it's incredible. So I think I'm going to have a look at that Dimensions another play.
Yeah, definitely.
So.
You're going to add some adjustment layers to that on top, or you're going to leave it as is?
So probably do that at the end. Yeah, just want to add a little bit of light, just selective little highlights, just to hide some of the shadows that kind of don't work.
Okay.
We can just start to give it that little bit of a pop.
So somebody on social media is asking, how long did it take you to become this efficient in Photoshop?
4 or 5 years.
4 or 5 years.
Yeah. I've always been pretty decent at kind of my workflow.
Yeah.
But yeah, it takes a good few years to start.
And when did you get started in the creative industry?
When I was 21. And you're going to ask me how old I am now.
Yeah, and do the maths, yeah?
I'm the big 3-0.
Big 3-0?
Yeah.
You're still young, you've got time.
Oh, again, you're too kind.
Okay.
So starting to bring this. So I want to kind of bring another element into this just to make it feel, link it to the real world as such, but I still want it to feel quite surreal and add a little pop of colour, as I mentioned, so we can't just keep it all white.
Okay.
So I'm going to get this guy. Lovely looking couple.
Lovely.
So, but we don't need this guy. Nope.
You just taking the one image or you having both of them?
I'm just going to have the one.
All right.
Split them up. So again, rather than taking a lengthy approach to clipping this guy out, we can just use a quick mask.
There you go.
And then we can go in and edit this however we need to then. So we can just use our brush.
Okay. Yep.
To quickly just...
Someone's asking online, how do you stay inspired?
How do I stay
Yeah,
inspired?
what keeps you flowing, yeah.
That's a tough one. I think you can take an inspiration. It's difficult to say pinpoint one particular thing, but looking for inspiration in anything is the key, really. And that's getting out into the world and going and looking up. We're too fixated on walking down and looking at phones and whatnot, and it's, get out there.
Yeah.
Look around the world.
Look at the world, the natural world around us, right?
Look at the little things. It can be anything. And you can. It could be a leaf.
Yeah, sure.
It could be, a texture in the road. It could be anything.
Yeah.
Anything at all.
Sure.
So just neaten that edge up, and then we'll take these. And you can see using the wand tool, we've got a pretty neat
There you go.
clip on that.
Looks good from here anyway.
And then, so we can kind of try and envisage this little guy building his home for his future. I'm saying him.
All right. Yeah, more like a hair, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of position this. Zoom right in here so we can.
Is there a need for any shadow on that, or is it not?
I think so, yeah. I think we need some.
Do you work on an iMac at home, do you?
I do, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, and
Big 27-inch.
big 27-inch and a big, whatever the massive Cintiq is as well. Yeah.
Oh, you got a Cintiq as well?
Yeah.
Wow. With that being said, have you tried the new Microsoft Surface?
I've not, and I really want to. I know you have.
Yeah, you've seen, I have.
playing with it.
I have to say, I was impressed.
Yeah.
And I was tempted. First time I've actually been tempted to cross over.
The dark side.
To the dark side, but no, great piece of hardware. It's not a usual typical PC price hardware, but it's like putting a Cintiq and an iMac together.
Yeah, it looks really cool.
Yeah.
It looks really, really cool.
Yeah. Cool.
Start to get a little bit of.
Is that the shadow, is it, yeah?
Yeah, we can just get a little bit of shading on these legs. And
Cool.
bring these brushes down.
Lovely. Just brush it in, eh?
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm surprised I'm managing this with a mouse.
Yeah? Oh, so you're not a mouse man, are you? You like me, are you?
Oh, no. I'll be using my Cintiq, but I left my stylus at home.
There you go. Okay. That's looking good. It's looking good.
So start to build that up. But we can see that just adding that little element in there, and that pop of colour, just starts to bring it to life.
I like the way you've just blended that circle out. But it actually looks like it's curved more.
Yeah, it just gives it a bit more depth.
Yeah.
and
Nice
it
technique.
Just plays with the light.
Yeah.
But I actually want to change this.
Okay. Okay, a bit less saturation there.
Yeah, just taking it down that little bit. We've got some blues going on in the piece in the white itself.
Right.
We've got an adjustment layer, which we need to, the colour blend, so we just need to take that to the top. And then we can just start to kind of play with how we can position more of these.
Sure.
To add that little bit more depth. And I really wanted to, when interpreting this brief, we were thinking about the Photoshop kind of tagline, which is reimagine reality.
Yeah.
So I like to introduce type into a lot of my work because do a lot of type work.
Yep, of course.
So drew out some new type using Illustrator.
Yep.
So we can start to see how these type of images, you can bring this into Adobe, from Adobe Stock, and build images like this, and you can start to see how this could be used in advertising and other applications.
Sure. See, you're a heavy shortcut man like me.
Yeah.
I often forget where the menus are sometimes when I'm showing people. Did you ever find that? You don't know where it is in the menus?
Where's that hidden?
Yeah.
For now, and then just think, I'll just use shortcut.
Yeah. It's coming on nicely. Looks like a billboard advert almost.
That's what you want to just kind of showcase that you can do these type of images with. Yeah, you can do them in 3D. You can do them in other packages.
Sure.
This is one way you can do it as well. So we could just start to tidy this up.
Okay, looking good, looking good.
I think we're not far off, really.
So the background stays black and the butterfly just blends in nicely?
We're staying black with the background. I think it's just a case of adding a little bit of highlight. Definitely going to stay with the black. I feel like the black and white is what really makes it quite punchy, and then just that pop of colour.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, I think we're just about there.
Looking good.
So in a true Blue Peter moment, here's what I prepared earlier. So yeah.
And there we have it. There we have it. The butterfly looks great, by the way, what you've done to the colours there.
Yeah, just trying to kind of bring out the highlights and just them little bits of...
You've made it almost look surreal, like it's not real, but it's could be a CGI. That's fantastic.
That's exactly the look that will go.
There you go. So there you have it. You've created an amazing remix here. You've turned the image into something completely new. So thank you again, Kyle, for some amazing editing tips. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Excellent. So I'm just gonna see if we have any more questions. So thanks to everybody that sent anything in on social media. Let's just have a look and see what we have. So somebody's asking, how can I become a stock contributor? Well, it's quite simple. You just sign up as a contributor on the Adobe Stock website using your ID. And once you've done that, you can start uploading the assets you want to contribute. So there you have it, guys. And if you've been watching these guys and asking, why didn't I think of that, a bit like me, well, now's your chance. You've downloaded your free 1-month trial, hopefully, from Adobe Stock, and you can start playing around with the assets. There's all sorts on there. There's photos, videos, illustrations, vectors, 3D assets, you name it, it's there. And you can find the link down below in the comments. Just have a browse. You can pick a few and see what you come up with. And we want to see what you come up with. We'd love to see what you come up with. So give it a go, and don't forget to share your creations with us using the hashtag Adobe Stock Remix. And thanks again to everyone who tuned in. If you're anything like me and probably feeling seriously inspired by people like Kyle and Lucy and Ron, take up the Remix Challenge. And I hope you've also picked up a few tricks along the way, like myself, and you incorporate that into your own workflow, and you appreciate the power of Adobe Stock. Before we leave you tonight, I just want to announce the winner of the contest that we've been running. So drum roll, please. Do you want to do it with me, guys? Drum roll, please. And the winner is Phil Elson. So congratulations, Phil. You are the winner. If you send us a DM with your contact details, we will be in touch. So you'll be getting a Adobe Creative Cloud license and free access to Adobe Stock for a whole year, which is fantastic. And I'm sure that you'll use it to create some amazing stuff and share that with us on social media. So that's all from us at Adobe. Thanks so much for watching and have a good night, guys.